With Russia's invasion of Ukraine now in its second week, it is completely understandable that Americans who have watched the horrors play out on television want to help and to push our government officials to do anything, everything in their power to support the Ukrainian people. But there's also a reality we can't ignore. It's a lot easier being here at home talking about not letting Putin do whatever he wants, getting tougher on Putin, stopping him by, for example, establishing a no-fly zone over Ukraine. It sounds great. It would mean that no Russian aircraft would be permitted to fly over Ukrainian airspace. But it's a very dangerous suggestion being fanned by way too many in the media. From cushy studios in New York and Washington, these armchair military strategists act like a no-fly zone is something we must feel morally compelled to do, while ignoring the real possibility that it could take us into World War III with nuclear weapons on both sides. For example, NBC's Chuck Todd asked Secretary of State Antony Blinken about it Sunday on Meet the Press.
Why rule out the no-fly zone? Why not make Putin think it's possible?
Now, Todd is one of the most high-profile pundits on television, not only asking the Secretary of State about the prospect of a no-fly zone, but asking it in a way that sort of suggests it's almost an obvious move. Why wouldn't you consider it? Blinken quickly set him straight.
The president's been very clear about one thing all along as well, which is we're not going to put the United States in direct conflict with Russia, not have American planes flying against Russian planes, or our soldiers on the ground in Ukraine, because for everything we're doing for Ukraine, the president also has a responsibility to not get us into a direct conflict, a direct war with Russia, a nuclear power, and risk a war that expands even beyond Ukraine to Europe. That's clearly not our interest. What we're trying to do is end this war in Ukraine, not start a larger one.
If the U.S. and its NATO allies establish this no-fly zone, America is likely shooting down Russian jets. So not surprisingly, Putin said on Saturday, we hear calls to impose a no-fly zone over Ukraine. Any move in this direction will be viewed by us as a participation in the armed conflict. And that isn't just sort of typical Putin bluster. Most who know him believe that is absolutely true. But it seems that reality hasn't sunk in for many in the media.
There's such strength in numbers, there's such strength in coalitions, and this is NATO we're talking about. I think that it's time now to start talking about the no-fly zone, because when will Putin stop?
Ukrainians are begging us for some type of air cover. You can call it a no-fly zone, you can call it a humanitarian corridor, you can call it what you want. While we're sitting here just watching them getting massacred, it's just unforgivable for us.
Do you know that almost 65% of the American people want a no-fly zone? I mean, I know the experts say it'll cause confrontation with Russia, and then that will lead to a nuclear war. That's a heck of a big jump. Does it mean that because we have mutually assured destruction, we can't defend ourselves anymore?
So let's just give it a shot, right? Why not? What do we got to lose? There's just very little thought being given to the consequences of that move. This is not a utopian world. And when you have people treating this like a real potential strategy, even an expected one, you do have the public getting on board with it. A new poll from Reuters shows that 74% of Americans, I can't believe this, including a majority of both Republicans and Democrats, favor the implementation of a no-fly zone in Ukraine. I do find it hard to believe. Because if it's true, it means many may not understand the real impact. In a perfect world, Russia would not be attacking Ukraine. In a perfect world, we could go in there and help them. This is not a perfect world. And the reality is, if the U.S. goes in and implements a no-fly zone, we are officially at war with Russia. And then the fighting could soon come home to the United States, with the possibility of a nuclear confrontation. Joining us now is Bruce Jentleson, a professor at Duke University's Sanford School of Public Policy. He worked in the State Department during the Clinton administration. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it. So there seems to be pretty broad public support for a no-fly zone. Does that surprise you?
Well, it's all about the question wording, Dan. In polls, if you ask people if they think it's a good idea, like the question was phrased by Reuters, given all the things you said, the tragic things happening to the Ukrainian people, their incredibly inspirational bravery, their, profiles in statesmanship, president, they'd say, sure. If the question had been phrased, this is what it's going to take to do it, and this is what the risks are, I think we would have gotten very different numbers out of that polling.
That's a very good point. So how grave do you think the risks are for escalation here? If the U.S. were to implement this no-fly zone, how great a risk would this be for NATO and the United States?
The risks are huge, and they're both inadvertent, the kind of encounter that can happen when you're in military conflict that's not intentional but can easily escalate. And there's a reason. I mean, back in 1956, the Soviet Union invaded Hungary. In 1968, they invaded Czechoslovakia. And for almost 75 years now, we have tried to counter and contain the Soviets and the Russians, but very conscious of the risk that these are two nuclear powers, and you try to avoid any direct confrontation between both of us that's military. In Syria in 2000, during Assad, this was discussed as well. And General Dempsey, who was then chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said not only was it extremely dangerous, but in addition to the air, it would take, he said at that point, 70,000 troops on the ground to implement it as well. Now, that might have been an overestimation, but there's a point that he was making there, and that was Syria.
Yeah, I mean, look, the bottom line is there are no good answers, right? There is no answer that's just going to make you smile and say, this is perfect, this is the solution. But when people in the media, particularly prominent people, like, for example, Richard Engel from NBC, said a massive Russian convoy is about 30 miles from Kyiv. The U.S. NATO could likely destroy it, but that would be direct involvement against Russia and risk everything. Does the West watch in silence as it rolls? It's almost egging on, right, government officials to say, come on, do some more, get involved. And it just seems so reckless to me.
Yeah, the watch in silence phrase and the clip you have from Rudy Giuliani is, if we can't, we're doing plenty. We've given them Stinger missiles. We're giving them a lot of military equipment, as are many of our allies. Poland is, Britain is, Germany is, France is. We are trying to help the Ukrainians resist both their formal army and the insurgency. So there are ways that we're doing this. Nothing's perfect, like you said, but those measures have some risk to them, but a lot less than a no-fly zone. And moreover, even if you tried to do it, what does it mean? It means shooting Russian aircraft out. It means blinding their radar. Intelligence reports say they have at least 4 of these S-400, air defense batteries there that are very sophisticated. And some of them, by the way, are not even in Ukraine. So you'd have to cross over to Russia or Belarus to do it. So even as a military operation, it's extremely difficult to do. And even if you do it, then you're really talking about climbing that ladder of escalation.
Right, because my understanding is that the greater threat to Ukraine are the missiles being fired than it is from the air.
Yeah, it's rockets and artillery that are firing. You're exactly right. And so, those would not be part of the no-fly zone. And so what's the next step that people would be calling for? Let's go take them out. President Biden has been very clear about this from the beginning. And I think he's shown a lot of bravery and understanding that strategy comes first, politics second. Yeah. He has said that if an inch of NATO territory is challenged by the Russians, we will defend it. But we will not go inside Ukraine to fight. So we're looking for lots of different strategies to push Putin back and to try to help the Ukrainian people as much as possible.
Yeah, and I just want to remind people when we talk about this that nothing I am saying is to minimize the suffering that's happening in Ukraine. I get it. It's just a question of the lesser of evils. And we have to make geopolitical decisions for this country that we have to make every day. And they're hard choices and they're ugly choices. But the way that people are so cavalierly, some of them, talking about a no-fly zone scares the heck out of me. Professor Jentleson, thank you so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Good to be with you.
Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.